a little bit. I have to say, so Mary drags me into things all the time. She started this thing called 10,000 Villages, and then suddenly I was on the board of that. And yeah, so she's always getting me into trouble. So I wear a lot of hats. I'm still league member, former league president, co-president, and I also am leading the First 50 Coalition, along with a whole group of the league and the NAACP. Sara and Ideas for Us are kind of the steering committee, and then we have other broad groups of organizations all working together, and we meet once a year and decide on 3 goals. And the reason we do that is everybody's got lots of work, especially the league has lots of work, lots of different things that they work on. But when we decide, we come together on 3 goals, focus on policy in Central Florida as a regional and kind of getting to be a national leader. So in that capacity, we are working to shut down the coal plants. We worked on plastics last year. The city did pass a plastics policy for all city venues, no single-use plastics. And we're very interested in energy efficiency, which is some people call it the first fuel, but it is a critical component for moving to 100% renewable energy. It really can't happen without reducing demand, and there's lots and lots of abilities to do that. So I got all these hats. So the hat I'm wearing tonight is my professional hat, so I have to be a little bit more careful. So I work for a behavior change marketing agency, social marketing. We used to call it social marketing. Then there's this little thing called social media that came along, and it confuses people. So we just now call it behavior change marketing. But what we do is we take the principles of marketing. So all the people here in the room spend a lot of time trying to educate people on what the right thing to do is. And we generally take the approach of, if we tell them the right thing, which is usually kind of what we think, and we tell it in enough times, and usually in like these big, long, pieces of paper that they have to read, that they'll do the right thing because it is the right thing. We know it's the right thing. And so behavior change marketing takes a different approach. And so really we start with, so just like any other marketing communications, who's our target audience? Like, who do we want to talk to? And then what do they care about? So not what do we care about? We care about whatever issue it is that we want to change, but what do they care about? And then how do we bring that together so what they care about and what we want them to do is the same thing. So we work across a lot of environmental issues and across a lot of public health issues. So this particular one, well, let me back up a little bit. So I worked for 6 years on a campaign called Be Floridian. Some of you may be familiar with that. It's still up. It's befloridian.org. Thank you for the hearings. I'm super excited. I now have our mascot is a pink plastic yard ornament, a pink plastic flamingo. And that was for the Tampa Bay Estuary Program. So people in the Pinellas County area, Pinellas, Manatee, Sarasota, those 3 counties, and Hillsborough, a little bit different. But what they care about is being able to go boating, fishing, swimming, and eating out at restaurants by the beach. And so when you ask them to protect the bay, they care about it. They care about it, but there's so many things to care about, right? There's so many different ways that you as an environmentalist can show what you care about. There's lots and lots of studies that show that only 10% of environmentalists are dedicated to living their values, and the others are what we call convenient environmentalists, which is that if you give them something you want and it happens to be green, they're super happy to have the green choice, but they're not driven by that green choice. And we spend a lot of time marketing as if everybody's in that 10%. So we try and reach that other 90%. So Be Floridian really focused on protecting fun and then made the behaviors very simple. So that's the other thing we do, is we try and spend a lot of time figuring out what is the one most important thing, or the 2 or the 3 most important things. Really no more than that we can do. And so we actually did get the Tampa Bay Estuary Program and the supporting counties, except for one, to go with a message that says skip the fertilizer in the summer. So if any of you have worked in fertilizer, you know it's a little bit political. And so it can be, that was actually a pretty breakthrough message. So how you can help, that's a great message. Because there is, thanks to the Southwest Florida Water Management District, a 20-page booklet on how to fertilize property, and there's properly, and there's at least 3 engineers in here I know who could read it and do it right. But we're talking about regular, ordinary people who are busy and on the weekend just want their lawn to not look bad, right? And so the easiest thing to tell them to do is just don't, because you're not supposed to fertilize 1 hour before it rains. Of course, it's Florida, it rains every day. So just taking all these complicated 20 pages, and boiling it down to one thing that you can do is skip the fertilizer. And so we did that message. We had a lot of fun with it, and we did see an increase in the number of people who fertilize only in the spring or fall or not at all. And then we moved to a message that was less lawn is more fun, getting people just to cut back a piece of your lawn. You have to get rid of your whole lawn, instead of starting to ask people to get rid of their lawn entirely. How about less lawn? What corner of your lawn can you make for Florida-friendly plants or native plants? So this campaign that I'm going to show you about, there's 2 that were recently hired. As you know, our new governor actually is quite interested in water and environmental issues, and so after a drought of many years, there's actually money in trying to help the environment. I don't want to go into what all that means. All I know is I do behavior change marketing, and then I was hired for this campaign. So there's 2. This is the one we're doing for the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. It does come out of the BMACs. If you guys know the Basin Management Action Plans, they have identified 30 outstanding springs. I can't remember exactly. I think 18 are impaired in 13 areas. Silver Springs is one. Wekiwa Springs is one. There's and so what they've done is they've actually done the science and said, here's what's polluting the springs. In most places, it's often ag. It's also often turf grass, which is our lawns, and septic. So, if anybody of you remember, septic can be also very political with the stuff that happened around the Wekiwa River. So we're hired to do a campaign that is, and so the BMAS are also, as you all probably know, some of them are under protest, is not going far enough. I'm not here to talk about that right now. I'm just talking about a little bit about the campaign that we're doing. So the big things that we could focus on, ag's a whole different issue, so we could focus on that, but we were focused on what individual people could do. And so we were trying to think about behaviors that people could do. So one of the behaviors you really can do is to get better sex. Well, this just tells us, so this is the campaign that we came up with. It's called ourfutureisclear.org. It's up and running today. You can see it. It's got a cute little manatee on it. And the goal is to protect and restore outstanding Florida springs. And I will say, just as a side, within all that means under the constrictions of working for a state government agency that has a lot of pressures on all sides for them. So we really had 3 pillars. And so one of this we're calling Get Better Septic, right? And then the other is we really focused it on contractors, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. And then we do have local leader toolkits. I think it's live today. If it's not live today, it will be live very shortly. And so those are just some toolkits where you could actually download materials. They include some social media shareables, some suggested posts, and some ways that you can talk about getting better septic if you live in one of these areas. So I'm not sure how familiar you all are, but so as part of this movement to protect the impaired springs, they do want people to do upgraded septic. So traditional septic does its job for health if it's working, whether it's leaking or that's a whole other issue. But if it's working, traditional septic does a job to protect health, but it doesn't stop nutrient pollution. And nutrient pollution can travel for miles and miles and miles, and people don't understand that. They don't understand that from my backyard and the spring that's miles away, every time I flush my toilet, I'm actually polluting the spring. And so our campaign is really trying to do 2 things. We're trying to bring that connection a little closer, like what you do in your yard really does affect your spring. And the other thing we're trying to do is, well, when you think about a target audience, what's in it for them? The people who have most stake in this are the contractors. Are also really important because the septic upgrades are very complex because the contractor gets the money. So the contractor basically promises it to the homeowner. It can be up to $10,000, which is about the price of getting a denitrifying system. So it's an advanced system that doesn't just handle the health hazards, it also takes nitrogen out of the wastewater. And so they cost a lot more money. That's a lot of money. That's a big ask of people. Going around asking them to spend $10,000. There's people in this room who would do it. You are, as we like to say in my company, you are weird. And you just need to remember that, right? Because you are committed, you're passionate, and you probably have the means to do that, right? So that's the, but to take this a little bit wider, so how could we help more people upgrade their septic and give them a reason to do it? Well, there's two reasons to do it. One of them is that you can get money right now. If you are in a specific area on this website, there is a map where you can enter your address, and it will tell you if you are in the geographic area for what's called the Septic Upgrade Incentive Program. So you can find out if you qualify for up to $10,000. It is for your drain field. If you guys know anything about septic, get really wonky really fast. It's for your drain field, and it can also be for upgrading an upgrade has to be an existing system, so it's not for new homes, but if you're replacing your existing traditional system. All of this is on there, and it's simple. It gets complex pretty fast, but as simple as we can. One of the things that we did, we partnered with the Florida On-Site Wastewater Association, which is a septic contractors trade association, and they helped us create a worksheet that hadn't existed before of all the different technology. So you can say, I want to get an upgraded septic system, and the manufacturer like, okay, but we don't sell it in your state. So we figured out how you can kind of compare a little bit, like, maintenance costs, because some of these do have ongoing maintenance, and just explaining too that any contractor can be actually certified on site. So just trying to make it, this is a super complex. This is like, if you took a behavior change campaign, we're always like, I've always kind of wanted to do septic, but it's really, really hard. It's a huge ask for people. It's super complicated, and it costs a lot of money, and you get your yard ripped up. But there's two carrots. $10,000 is one of them. The other is that in these areas, eventually the regulation may come. I can't promise you it will, but if the political will continues, it will. And so it's a kind of an idea. If you all are out there promoting it, it's like, get your money while you can get it, because it's limited time. There's lots of money right now, but and eventually, probably sometime within the next 5 years, they are planning to require upgraded septic because it is a huge impact on our springs. So on the site, you have there's some information for contractors. There's some information for homeowners, what you need to know, so you can familiarize yourself there. And then there's those local leader toolkits that include information that you can share. You are free to take it, use it, put your organization's logo on it, and share it as yours. So yes, that's basically a Ubuntu. This is just some of the capacity building material. This is the sheet that helps you compare the different technologies. There's a guide. This is for the contractors. The application process is really complicated, and to have a little empathy for the contractors, they've got to promise their customer that they're going to get $10,000, but they don't know until they know, right? They don't know until it's been actually, so it's a little bit complicated, but they're super on board. They're really engaged. Every single one of them has been excited about it. We've been sharing some materials for them. They have those bumper stickers asking about better septic, and they really like that. And then here's some digital some sources for homeowners, just again trying to make that process as easy as possible. This is a super complicated process. And here's one of our direct mail, and I actually really love this. So when I talked about trying to bring the issue a little closer, this is actually a direct mail. So you see, it comes like this. If you live in one of the areas, you might receive one of these. These are going out next week. So see, it starts out where he's fishing his toilet, right? And then you open it up, and it says, Jim just protected his favorite fishing hole from his toilet. And so, I mean, that's really intentional, right? It's funny, yeah, yes, we had a lot of fun with that. We're like, what can we do with the toilet? This one didn't make the cut, but like, what can we do with the toilet? And our video also features a guy flushing his toilet, and then there's some people from the springs in his house. There's a video going out as well. But the point is, like, it's really hard for people. People can care about a lot of things, right? I care about a lot of things. I care a lot about the refugee crisis. I always bring that one up because I really don't feel I have any capacity in my life or knowledge or expertise to do anything about it, but it makes me feel bad, right? So you can do all you want to make me feel bad. It's not going to make me do anything different. So how can we make this relevant for the people who live near enough to the springs that they can really understand that their septic water is ruining their favorite fishing hole. So that's one of our, and I don't think she embedded this. She didn't, there's some fun videos out there as well. I think that's it. And so, yeah, we got toilets wherever we could. What we really want to do, this is like what we really want to do, we want to do we found these little, we found these little floaties that are toilet seats, right? And so we want to do, we'll invite you, we want to do basically an awareness raising event at a spring where everybody comes wearing their little floaties and explains the things that you can do to save your local spring. So as you notice in here, there is nothing about fertilizer. As I said, fertilizer is difficult. So we focused where we thought we could get the most traction right now, which is on septic. That said, we just are just now starting a new campaign. It took a long time to happen, but it did. So the Wekiva, the Orange County is doing a campaign like this for the Wekiva. And so we'll be coming out with something for the Wekiva as well. And that should include some messaging about fertilizer, because the one thing every homeowner that lives anywhere near a body of water, which is pretty much everybody who lives in Florida, it all washes the same place, is be really careful about your fertilizer. If you cannot fertilize, best thing to do at all. But certainly don't fertilize during the rainy months. And use as many Florida-friendly plants and as many native plants as you can, and upgrade your septic. So that is my presentation. Does anybody have any questions?